pumpkin spice creamer, baked butternut squash mac and cheese, and pumpkin spiced overnight oats. Hi, I'm Kat. Welcome to Kat's Kitchen Stories. Today's challenge is to create these 4 delicious dishes with 1 butternut squash. So let's get right into it. We require 1 squash, so chop off the top, half the squash and scrape out the seeds using a spoon and put them in a baking dish. Also scrape out the flesh but discard it. I season the seeds with some oil, salt and maple syrup. Bake them at 190 degrees Celsius, that's 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and regularly check on the seeds. They will only need 10 to 15 minutes. The squash takes about 30 minutes. It will slightly brown on the outside and you can easily pinch it with a fork. For our first dish, baked butternut squash, we will only need a couple of ingredients. We use 1/4 of the squash. I'm loosening up the flesh using a fork and season it with olive oil, salt and some ground pepper. Next I chop up some herbs. This is thyme from my balcony and I use it to season the squash seeds. Add some ground pepper, cinnamon, salt and olive oil and finally some delicious breadcrumbs. Okay, so the breadcrumb mix goes onto my squash. And I scrape out the other 1/4 of my squash and store it in a container for my next dish. All I need to do is to bake my squash in the oven at 190 degrees Celsius, that's 375 degrees Fahrenheit, for about 15 minutes or until the breadcrumbs turn golden brown. And voila, our first dish is finished. You can find the full recipe on my website. I will put the link in the description box. Our second dish is pumpkin spice creamer. These are the ingredients and a breakdown of the prices, and I will link you the post in the info box so you can read more about this recipe on my website. If you use cashew milk, it will be a very rich creamer, and if you use almond milk, it will be a little lighter. And all you need to do now is just combining all ingredients in your blender. You can use a pumpkin spice mix or the spices I have listed in my recipe. So that's the cashew or almond milk, the butternut squash puree, some soaked dates or maple syrup, the spices, and a pinch of salt. I'm using freshly grated ginger, but you can also use ground ginger. Blend this mix on high speed and then put the liquid in a pot. Turn your stove on medium heat and bring your creamer to a boil. It just needs to simmer for a minute or so, and then we have our homemade pumpkin spice creamer. I will put the link in the description box so you can find the full recipe on my website. Our third recipe is pumpkin spiced overnight oats. It will make 4 servings and it's also very straightforward. So first step is to combine the pumpkin puree with the maple syrup. Next we will add some cashew or almond milk and mix again. Then we need to add all the spices along with the chia seeds and finally the oats. You can also add a little bit more milk to adjust the consistency. I can really recommend to add some cold coffee. You will not taste the coffee per se, but it intensifies the flavor. There is no cooking and no blending required. You only need to store this in the fridge overnight. The next morning you will have delicious pumpkin spiced overnight oats. Add any toppings of your choice and enjoy. This also makes the perfect grab and go breakfast. You can find the full recipe on my website. I will put a link in the description box. My absolute favorite and the last dish for this video is butternut squash mac and cheese. So first thing, scrape out the flesh from the remaining squash half, add it to your mixer and blend until smooth. Sauté the chopped onions in some olive oil. Then add some caramelized garlic. You need to keep an eye on this because garlic tends to burn fairly quickly. Add your squash puree and the plant milk. Then add all your spices and mix until everything is well combined. Let the sauce simmer for just a few minutes. You can now adjust the consistency with a little more plant milk and also adjust the seasoning to your taste. If you want your sauce extra smooth, you might want to transfer it back to your blender or use a hand blender. And finally, we need to combine the sauce with some pre-cooked elbow macaroni. This makes an excellent freezer dish, so I spread my mac and cheese along several baking dishes and just need to defrost them overnight whenever I fancy some mac and cheese or need a quick side dish. It will take 15 minutes to bake at 190 degrees Celsius, that's 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And of course, everything is just a little bit better with some crisp breadcrumbs. You can find all recipes along with the ingredient lists on my website. I hope you will enjoy these recipes as much as I do, so leave me a comment below. Subscribe to my channel and like this video to see more of my recipes. See you next week, Kat.